Well, good afternoon, or rather, I should say greetings, everyone, because we talk to people all over the world. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. I am super, super excited to have my guest here today. Your gal, Shal Chandler herself, has chosen to spend some time with us on this first week of the new year, full week, right? Last Wednesday was January 1st. Here we are on the 8th and we are declaring it Wealth Wednesday, and we're going to shift some narratives today. And so let's start off just with the, you know what, I'm going to start off because this is what the second show, but this is the first Wealth Wednesday of the year. I'm going to bring in the tambourines. We're going to bring it in, right? We are claiming wealth and healthy wealth
Mhm.
now and forever. So, Shal, welcome, welcome, welcome to the
Thank you.
show.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Walls. I appreciate it. I'm so happy and excited to be here. A stranger's just a friend I haven't met yet.
That's
And it's
right.
just, it's an honor to be here.
Yes, I had to tell you, when we were talking, and let's first say hello to Dr. Monique Wells, who brought us together. So, we definitely want to acknowledge her. We have some people in the chat. We want to say greetings to Leslie says, good afternoon, ladies. I am looking forward to learning some new things.
Nice.
Thank you, Les, for that reminder. For anyone who is new to any of my shows, I always encourage you to make sure you have a pen, paper nearby, or an open tab or something so that you can take some notes because you are going to hear something for yourself and or for somebody else. If you have not subscribed yet to Ask Dr. Walls 525, I encourage you just click that button. It is absolutely free. It only takes a moment for you to click that button and subscribe because I have a tremendous amount of shows where I am constantly bringing you information, motivation, inspiration, as I told Shal, all the shuns, all the positive shuns,
Love it.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
We are bringing them. So, Shal and I, greetings, Kelly from Mississippi. Greetings, Dion. All right. So, and people who are joining, please be sure to put in the chat where you are coming, where you're joining us from, and just say good afternoon. Hey, one single rose is coming out of Detroit. 313 is here. Yes, that's right. That's right. Go on, Shal. Introduce yourself to the people. I feel like one of them kids. Introduce yourself right on.
Well, hello, everybody. As Dr. Wall said, my name is Shal Chandler. Everybody knows me. It's smiley, bubbly, some kind of endearment, but your gal Shal, that's my gal Shal.
Hmm.
And as I was thinking about how I wanted to introduce myself, sort of like my mental bio, there is no one thing that defines me, but there are some very specific things that I'm passionate about. I live in the Detroit metropolitan area with my husband, Otis, and my son. I have two other children that are all adults and a bonus daughter. So they're 27, 27, 29, and 31.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yes. I spend my days doing work, as you know, Dr. Wells, that feeds my soul.
Yes.
And so I split my time between serving a government entity in a project management space. And then I also have a great passion bringing back to the forefront Dr. Monique Wells, the
Hmm.
executive director and founder of the Wells International Foundation, as the development volunteer and brand ambassador. Just,
Mm.
just a phenomenal organization.
I love it.
Something else that I do, born from a journey that I went through years ago that I'm looking forward to sharing today, is helping folks break cycles when it comes to accumulating wealth.
Hmm.
So that is me in a try nutshell.
Yes, yes, I love it. There's so many things that you have even said so far, and I really want people to sit with it. You said, I only do things that feed my soul.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, absolutely. So we are all good at many things, but I got into this trap over a 30 plus year career, professional career, where early on folks told me, you know what, you are good at that, you should do more of that, or we would like for you to do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good at it, so I'll do it. And it wasn't until I got later in life when I had one of those those crossroad moments, life changing events where I decided to evaluate, well, what is it that I want to do? What is it
Mm-hmm.
that I'm actually passionate about and want to
Mm-hmm.
build and be the best that I possibly can be?
Yes.
And so doing work that feeds my soul is about doing something that serves something greater than me. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about mentorship in some of our prior conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I view events like this as kind of like a pseudo way of that,
Yep.
in addition to
Yep.
direct mentoring.
Yep.
I find it as a responsibility, and that just brings me so much joy to help people help themselves and again break cycles.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And as people are listening, I really want you to take time and ask yourself, and I know this is going to be a disruptive type of question. What are the things that I'm doing that are feeding my soul, right? And real nourishment versus what is that pseudo nourishment, meaning, right? It's filling your time. We have junk food. I don't want to name any brands because I'm not going to X myself as possibly being a brand ambassador for one of them, right? we we may be taking in some things that aren't giving us proper healthy calories, nutrients, and so forth. It's filling us up temporarily, but it's not nourishing, right? Us. It's not feeding us versus those real foods, those real activities, those real conversations, those real things that we're watching. What are we taking in that's feeding our soul?
Mhm.
Shal, you also mentioned that, you recognize that there were some things that you were doing that were working against you. And in our conversation, you made this statement that I don't even know if you realized you had made at the time. And I said, oh, that's the title of the show. Like we doing something with that. And what you said was, I had to learn to protect myself from my wealth, protect my wealth from myself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I said, well, come on now, protect yourself from, protect your wealth
Mhm.
from yourself. And
Mhm.
I said, that's it right there.
Oh
So
yes, yes,
talk
definitely.
about it.
All right, Kathleen. So a little bit about my journey. Back in 2012, I believe it was 2012, I found myself having the worst year of my life. I was divorced. I got divorced. I was laid off of my job of 18 years.
Mm,
My dog died. Literally, my dog died.
mm,
And it was just such a turbulent time. I had to reconnect and find self. I wanted to know who my great grandparents were. Like, I really
mhm,
needed to reconnect with who Shal was, who I'd been, so that I could know how I wanted to move forward and who I was, then striving to be, now striving to
mhm,
be.
mhm,
One of those areas was finances, right? It doesn't matter how much I made, I just would save. I would try and try and try, and I would save some. But it's not about how much you save, it's about how much you keep. And
mm,
once I was a single mother and not having additional income from my husband to back up where there were shortfalls or could cover this and that, I was like, you know what, that's it. In addition to cleaning up the other parts of my life, I'm going to figure out why I have been so unsuccessful at this. And it really
mhm.
boiled down this journey into three things.
Okay.
Number one, the key to holding on to your treasure is understanding your triggers. And when I
Mm,
say that, I mean understanding your triggers to spend. For me personally, it was trauma. It was trauma. And whenever I would endure something that was really painful or that I couldn't solve because I'm a problem solver, I would go spend money because I figured whatever negativity I was spending, I could counter it and balance it out in the universe by bringing joy elsewhere.
mhm,
I also would go and do what I call releases. It was escapes from reality. An example of that might be playing Keno. It might be going to the casino. That was something that I did a lot.
mhm,
The second piece I had to realize, and I really, really want to say this clearly, I had to realize that I was broke, not broken.
mhm,
just
mhm,
just as we have habits, bad spending habits, right? Bad
mhm,
habits that cause us to eat into wealth we've accumulated. You
mhm,
can rebuild new ones. New heights require new habits.
mhm,
And
mhm,
then the third element was, then after I understood who I was and how I spend and my triggers, finding ways based on that very hard to come to grips with information, finding ways to protect my wealth from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I learned about that journey, I had to share with others. And it took about 2 years of a series of experiments. And I had my breakthrough in 2014.
Okay. That's incredible. We already see that's right. One single rose said, protect your peace.
Yes.
That's your Detroit buddy right there. Said protect your peace
Yay.
without question.
Mhm,
Oh my goodness. So as you were going through and you were discovering, let's start with number one,
mhm.
understanding your triggers to spend. Do you recall that moment when you caught yourself?
Yeah, so it was actually like catching it in the moment. So one of my really bad habits I had, again, another escape, is I like to play those, games where that you can do in-app purchases, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so once I broke down where my expenses were and I separated mandatory from maybe you should do something else spending,
Right.
I realized these are the areas that where I'm spending the most. And when
Mm-hmm.
is it that I do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I tied the triggers to the spend. So that was one
Mm-hmm.
area. And then again, trauma. So those were the two areas: escaping and dealing with trauma. I
Okay.
used money to do that. So my
Okay.
intentions were there. I also wasn't born, Kathleen, with the saver gene. I call it the saver gene. It just didn't come natural to me. And I have a, yeah, brother, one brother that's still with us, and
Mm-hmm.
he always made a fraction of what I did, but he always saved infinitely more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so in pulling the thread on that, I went back to my childhood, and what I realized is that my father was from the South. He was an entrepreneur. Right, wrong, or indifferent, believed women's place was in the home to raise the children and to
Mm-hmm.
keep him good and strong so that he could go out and continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, he also allowed me, because I worried him to death, to work with him on the job site. So in the summer, after my parents' divorce, he would let us earn extra income. I would paint in closets, pick up, he was a general contractor. I would pick up shingles that, from roofs that were being
Yes.
taken, whatever it was.
Yes.
But he did not teach me, like he taught my brothers, financial
Mm-hmm.
literacy or responsibility. He
Mm-hmm.
didn't teach any of that to me.
Yeah.
So this message today is for those who didn't have a household where you could see an example of what that financial responsibility should look like, or someone
Yeah.
will tell you, even if they did.
Yeah.
Those who aren't born with the saver gene, and those who have just struggled or may be beginning savers.
Yes. I love that breakdown for people because many times people will say, right, I'm not good at this and just call it a day and keep moving forward. Whereas you stopped and you assessed and said, okay, this is something that I'm not strong at yet.
Mhm, mhm,
Right? I'm not calling it out. I'm not saying the game is over. I'm just realizing this is not a strength yet.
mhm,
And you also did the assessment of how come it's not a strength
mhm,
for me. And so you said, all right, maybe there's a genetic predisposition that I don't have this saver gene. All right, I'll
mhm,
accept that. But even with that, I'm still not out. And
mhm,
then you looked at it and said, okay, from a historical family standpoint, this is not something that someone sat me down and taught me how to do, like tie my shoes, brush my teeth,
That's right.
so forth, right? I didn't get the teaching there.
Mhm,
In school, I didn't get the teaching there.
mhm,
And so now it's like, okay, I'm grown at this
mhm.
point. I'm
That's right.
capable of, I'm literate in the sense of being able to read and write
Mhm,
and research
mhm.
so I can learn how to teach myself
That's right.
this.
That's right.
And you got people in the chat saying me neither, right? So
I
now
reject that.
right, so
I
right
reject that.
yes.
Yes.
So now
So,
you gotta take ownership for
yes,
for it.
definitely.
So go ahead.
Definitely. So sorry, I don't mean to, I'm just chomping at the bit here.
No, go chomp away.
Oh my goodness. So what you're alluding to is what I say when people say, "Oh, you're weak," or even if you tell yourself you're weak at something. We're not meant to be, number one, good at everything. But
Hmm.
it is our responsibility to explore and find out what our strengths are, and then find ways to complement areas where we're not as strong. But you're not weak, right?
Come on.
And anyone can save. Anyone can save. And
Yes.
so what it's about is eliminating that word and repositioning your mindset that you're building the muscle,
Come on.
right? The discipline, which equates to the discipline and the habits to do something different than you are today. I mean,
Yes.
you built the habit of bad spending, right?
Yes.
Or, giving into triggers and impulses. But once you, get to know yourself a little better from that financial lens and understanding and giving yourself some grace, it will set you free. Can't hold you hostage anymore if you
Come
declare
on.
it to be so, right?
Exactly.
So here's some of the things that I did in order to get to that part about protecting my wealth for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to do with how I dealt with triggers. We'll just start there.
Okay.
One of the things was I was very impulsive. So let's say I had that interaction where someone said something that was really hurtful and I was trying to mask.
Mm-hmm.
I would go off and maybe I'd buy my whole team pizza that day, or I'd, go make them these little plates. Well, I might have to dip into my savings to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So my breakthrough in 2014 came from doing this one thing. Before the first step to building that habit is you have to prove to yourself that you can put away $1 a day for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to do $1, you can do a penny. It's about the skill. Saving is a skill, okay? And it was, as with any skill, you have to build it. So first step, save something every day for 30 days straight without touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Watch how difficult it is. So at that point where I started, I was earning around a little over $80,000, right? And I started out at like $20 a day. That didn't work. Then I went to $10, right? And then I got all the way down to $1. For whatever reason, that was the magic bill denomination for me. And I was able to save 30 days in a row. It was the most important $30 of my life, because it was about the habit of every single day going in, folding it up, rolling it up, and sticking it in that slot. That was part one.
Mm-hmm.
The next step was, okay, just because I make 80 grand, you have to evaluate what your mandatory expenses are. And once you know that, you can determine this is not about setting a budget. This is not about paying yourself first. It's not about that. It's about at a basic level saying, this is my disposable income.
Yes.
Where's my money going? Right?
Yeah.
You know the potential that you have to save.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of those traditional things, again, like paying yourself and all of that, I say, instead of an emergency fund, you have a just in case and a just because fund.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case and just because the emergency might not be your own. It might be somebody else's.
Come on.
Emergency fund. It just doesn't make sense to me, the way that I think it, at least.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then after you set your goal, right, it could be for a person, which could be yourself or someone else. Like I got a new grandbaby coming. For a place, someplace you want to go or be, or a thing. A person, place, or thing. It's so simple. 30 days. What's my disposable income potential to save? What do I want to save for? What moves me? What's going to motivate me to do it? Right? Okay. So that's how it started. And once I had my breakthrough, the other piece that helped me be more successful at higher goals, once I got a hold of that, was having an accountability partner, which at the time ended up being my son.
Okay.
He was 16 at the time, and he had he has a very calm and patient disposition, just like his dad does in some ways in that regard. And I didn't want to let him down. So if you share with someone you love and trust, this is what I'm struggling with. Again, it can't hold you hostage once you say it out loud.
Come on.
And then enlist someone you know loves you as much as you love yourself, or more than you love yourself for now. Then you say, this is what my goal is. No matter what, either invite them to do it with you, or ask them to help you control those impulses. What does that mean? That means having them check in on you. So remember the in-app purchases. Once I set myself free that I was broke, not broken, I didn't have a desire at that time to go to the casinos anymore. It was incredible. I didn't want to play the lottery. I didn't want to do that. I didn't need to escape. I'm dealing with my now and, with my issues.
Yes.
So, but I still did the in-app purchases because I just love to do it at night.
Right.
So I had my son when I tried removing, payment, payment avenues, credit cards,
Mm-hmm.
debit cards.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work. Then I had him saying to me, "Hey, Bob, did you do any in-app purchases today?" Holding me accountable.
Mm.
That didn't work. So then he pushed the red button, and inevitably I had to delete the app. I had to delete it. I
Okay.
had to get rid of it completely
Yes.
at 16. And so he set his own, he decided to save with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he saved for the first full year right out the gate, started
Mm.
the right habits. So that first $365 set the path for the rest of his life. He is
Wow.
so responsible. All of my children saved.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pause there just in case.
Yeah, yeah. I love all of it. I want y'all to put in the chat room what are some of your takeaways that you have gotten so far. I'm just looking at the power and the influence of your choice to strengthen this within yourself and the immediate domino ripple effect that it had within your family. And so your children will not grow up with the same financial reality that you grew up with.
Correct. I broke the cycle.
You broke it. I mean, you broke that doggone thing. You you broke it and broke it all the way down, even in this episode, as you're talking to us, for people to take honest inventory. That's the phrase they're used to hearing me say, taking honest inventory of their behaviors around finances.
Mhm.
One single rose says we can't blame anyone for our choices, blame lives within ourselves. Yeah, that's ownership and responsibility.
Mhm.
100%. Um, Go ahead, Shal. You look
Yeah.
like you're biting again. Go
Oh,
ahead.
am I giving that vibe? Oh
I,
my goodness.
I can just tell. It's my work. I feel people. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness. So I would say give yourself grace. It's not about blame. It's about finding the root cause.
Yeah.
Take out the emotion, and just, if you really want to turn that corner, it's about figuring out who you are, how and why you spend.
Mm-hmm.
How and why you spend, the root causes and your triggers. That's what
Yeah.
it's about. And then the decision time comes to what's the best way through your own series of experiments. Are you going to do something different? Now,
Mm-hmm.
another thing I wanted to share with the audience is, when I say you're not alone, we as Black women,
Mm-hmm.
and Kathleen, I know we were talking about this earlier, are and this is just reality, are among the
Mm-hmm.
lowest when it comes to accumulating wealth. But let's unpack a little bit about why that is.
Okay.
It's because many of us are caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's that ever-present wage gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is also because of our habits. So it's not just any one thing.
That's right.
Also, there was a recent study by Goldman Sachs that said 71% of Black women feel like they live paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
Yet we spend $1.4 trillion. That's our spending power as Black women in
Wow.
this country. So the money is there. It's there. We
Definitely
have the
there.
means to do it. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you make 50,000. I've seen MC Hammer, hello,
Okay.
right? People who make millions of dollars
Yes.
go bankrupt because they don't have this skill,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So setting that aside, for 2025, it's all about diversification.
Mm-hmm.
I've set my savings goals at $21,500 for this
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
As one of my avenues. And so one of the things that I do to get through impulses that I think that some of you will love is, okay, so I have this box, right? And
Yeah.
on this box, it's got a grid. All of these grids represent dollar amounts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so you see it's got a slot for coins or bills, and look, there's no exit. So
Oh.
when I
Ain't
feel
no lid on there. I can't pull that apart.
there is a lid, but in
Okay.
order to have that extra measure to protect my wealth for myself, I put this sticker grid, because there's many grids that go
Ah.
500 up to $10,000. And so I'm just going to keep taping over the next level grid until I get to 10,000, and that'll be 21,500.
Okay.
Okay. So I taped over the little hole, right? There's a little cap that you can pop off. And so, but no, I can't get to that. And I know
Okay.
myself, so I'm not going to mess this up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how you can protect your wealth from yourself. But there are many items that I've used that you can't you can't get into it all. Plexiglass,
Mm-hmm.
if you're visual and you need to see your progress, there are
Mm-hmm.
plexiglass banks that only have a slot, and you
Right.
need to bust it open with a hammer to get it, to get
Wow.
into it. So
Wow.
another item that dealt with my past, again, examining how I grew up and what was my background in understanding how to money well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
was
I
that
love
when
that
my
phrasing.
money well,
Yeah, I do. I like it for two reasons. Sometimes I'm very visual, as you were just talking about the former item. Like if this were like a money well, like putting my money in it and it being, it be a bank or so forth, but I can put my money in the money well, and that's well money.
that's right. And putting it over the hole makes sure my well doesn't run dry.
Come on.
So
Y'all, she taking us to money church today. Come on. Yes,
here's another one of my favorite things.
go
So
for it.
when my mother, who divorced my father when I was 10, I promise you, she was the most fun mother. She stayed at home, right? Because that's the environment I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the further we got away from our childhood home, the closer I got to parentalized childhood. Like I became
Uh-huh.
the adult. And so
Uh-huh.
she also wasn't taught these, definitely didn't have the saver gene as a creative. And other ways that manifests is when my father used to send us money for Christmas, birthdays, or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
she would take it. I'm not
Mm.
saying steal it. She would take it and repurpose it for something that I didn't want her to do.
Got you.
And so it's there are some instances where that's the case, and then others where you may be in an environment where you're not sure if you can safely keep your means
Yeah,
somewhere where it won't be snagged for whatever
that's
the
right.
reason is.
That's
So
right.
items like these are wonderful for that. Not peaches because people actually love peaches,
Uh-huh.
but it's a fake can, right?
Oh, look at
And it's got a
that.
little compartment in there that
Yes.
allows you to save, and it
Yes.
look inconspicuous.
Yeah.
It's also good for people that find themselves in domestic violence situations. I
Mm-hmm.
love this. There's a brush that has a little compartment in the handle. And then I
Mm.
found these little scrunchies, hair scrunchies. Now,
Yeah.
I can't, the scrunchie don't
But,
work, but it has a little zipper here on the side that has a compartment that you can put money in.
oh, I didn't know about that one.
So if you're trying to escape or you just want to keep it on the low, wear
Yes.
ponytails for a year and just stack,
Come on. Come on.
you can fit a lot of large bills in that little. So there are all sorts of ways that I found that are fun that I employ. But these are some of the things that I'm doing for 2025.
Yeah.
Another diverse path is living out of the market. Okay, so we
Hmm.
always hear, "Oh, make your money work for yourself." Well, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
treasure hunter, so while my husband trades options and does things with a lot more syllables than what I'm interested in,
Yes.
I'm interested in penny stocks. So
Okay.
I did some research and reading and found some stocks that spoke to where I thought our country was going, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Penny stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Penny stocks. Doesn't take
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot. I'm going to have that stock one day that's going to turn into Meta or Apple or something,
Come on.
right? So,
Yes.
but the point of mentioning that is it's different from a 401k.
Yes.
Okay. When you invest yourself, say through TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab, that money is still liquid. So
Mm-hmm.
if you really invest some time in building just a small basic portfolio
Mm-hmm.
strategy,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be hard. I mean, it's really, really easy. I mean, I could even do a class on that one day
Mm-hmm.
if you'd like.
Of course we would.
I would love to do that.
Okay.
So I picked a group of penny stocks, and for example, there's this one that I bought in at 15 cents,
Mm-hmm.
and it hit $1.70 last week, right? But I had
Oh.
750 shares.
Well, well, come on.
Woo! Right. And the key there is because I am taking control and power and control over my finances, my
Yes.
funds,
Yes.
it's liquid. So if
Yes.
I needed to for some emergency or something, I fight the impulse because it's not easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
have to complete it in order, right? which is not going to be fulfilled till after the market closes, which then isn't going to hit my bank account until, within
Mm-hmm.
24 hours, depending on the time of day you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have your money, work for you, but then have it liquid so that you could get to a 401k. Borrowing money from yourself, it's not the same thing, and you got to
Mm-hmm.
pay that back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
another stream of diversification. So
Yeah.
I'll pause there.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I want to get some of these comments up here. Leslie said, awesome, honest self checking, being transparent to your son was truly the best thing. Very proud of you.
Thank you, Leslie.
Dion said, I love the idea of having someone to hold you accountable.
Mhm.
JC says, very nice. Very
Mhm.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
appreciate
There's so many pieces here as we're talking about money and your relationship
it. Mhm.
with it. Being accountable is a piece, self control, recognizing when impulsivity takes over, recognizing what your triggers are around it. All of this is about self awareness
Mhm.
and then self management,
Yes. Well
right?
said. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the other piece that I love, and this is something with my clients that I work with all the time, is shifting that mindset of a weakness to saying this is an area of growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? As opposed, because when we hear the word weakness, we think of it as a forever characteristic. When we hear an area of growth, then we recognize that it is a competency. It is something that we can work on to grow. And, or as you mentioned, we can find someone who is strong in that area and then work cooperatively and collaboratively with them for our greater good.
That's right. That's right. I tried so many times because my father always had money. His busy season was in the summer. And so he would work all summer and then live off of his earnings all winter.
Mm. Mhm.
And no matter what he told me, it just did not work for me. And then the same thing about paying yourself, I would do it, but I would always dip into it. And so
Mhm.
again, it goes back to understanding how you spend, how and
Mhm.
why you spend, and then doing something about it. I'm always going to be the person that if I'm walking down the street, I'd say I'm in Eastern Market here in Detroit, and
Mhm.
I hear a song comes on that a hustle goes to,
Uh-oh.
I'm going to be slide to the left, slide. That's going to be me. I'm
Uh-huh.
spontaneous like that. And so to stop me from buying a membership at this dance hall I'm never going to be at again,
Mhm.
these are where protecting your wealth from yourself measures come
Mhm.
in. It's about having a lifestyle that complements who you are. Because it's
Mhm.
okay. We're not all the same.
Yeah.
We don't learn the same. We don't think the same. We don't express ourselves the same. So why would there be any standard rules for
Yeah.
how you can accumulate wealth? You got to find a way that fits for you. So
And the other piece that you've been talking about is diversifying and
yes.
having multiple streams. And people who know me, I move beyond multiple streams. I said, give me multiple oceans, right?
Hey, I love that.
I want multiple oceans of income. Now, with that, there's a level of responsibility because there's awareness. You have to monitor those different streams, those different oceans. You have to stay on top of it. If you're calling it in, then you also have to have the skills to manage it accordingly,
That's
right?
right. Very.
And so, as people are listening to this, one of the things that you said was that you set a financial goal for yourself for the year. How long have you been doing that?
Since 2014.
All right.
So once I built the skill and I found out what my thresholds were,
Mm-hmm.
I set a new goal every year, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
The other thing I'll say is that this is a lifelong journey.
Thank
It's
you.
this is just this is just a milestone. Just like we change, our lives change. Um, when my mother passed away May 24th, I lost my job and my mother on the same day,
Mm,
like 3 hours apart.
mm,
And we had just moved into this house, and we had to invest about 50 grand in major repairs that
Mm-hmm.
insurance wouldn't cover because it wasn't attached to the house or whatever the case may
Mm-hmm.
be. And so we went through our savings pretty fast. And then once, but I made very good money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay. But then when my mom died and I lost my job on the same day,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of spiraled into depression. Now, depression is normal, just
Mm-hmm.
like being happy
Yep.
is,
Yep.
just like being anxious is. Any emotion that you have, it's about the balance and your ability to come out of that naturally,
That's
just
right.
like you go from happy to sad or sad to happy
Mm-hmm.
to sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself in a position where I was really struggling to get out. And so I
Mm-hmm.
reverted to some of those terrible habits that did not serve me well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to hit reset. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't work for 7 months. I literally worked on myself, allowed myself some grace, and lived off of the savings that I did have.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had not had that breakthrough, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't. And how many times have you had to deal with some kind of traumatic um, event and had to go to work, or
Yes.
you want to take time off to heal for more than 3 days. You
Mm-hmm.
you want to have more than 3 days bereavement, you know,
Yes.
but
Real
you can't,
talk.
because you got to go back to work, because you got to pay your bills,
Yeah.
and because
Yeah.
right, our habits don't necessarily serve us well.
Yeah.
So thinking about the downstream residual benefits of changing your life in this way, I've lived them, but I've also had to hit reset, and that's just
Yeah.
2023 was the most recent case.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
then I started setting my goals again. And I love to collect coin banks and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back on track. I've been back on track for about a year. I went back to work in January, late January of last year,
Okay.
and up to my goal this year. And then setting that just in case, just because
I
fund.
was gonna bring that up. Yes.
So that's separate than my savings goal. So about savings, when I said saving $1 a day and building the habit, if you put $30 in there, you're cheating, right? You're cheating yourself, actually,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to be willful about it. All right, we talked about that. But the other part of that is, if there's people that've got that big glass jar or
Yes.
something, and they can save change, they got that little bit of that saver gene, but
Yes.
they don't know how much is in there.
Correct.
So if you're really trying to save, if you're really making a shift to being goal oriented, these small milestones, these small
Come
victories,
on.
then you have to be deliberate. That
Yeah.
means if I'm saving $365 for the year, then that's a dollar
Yes.
a day. I used to do a dollar a day challenge in my videos every year for years.
Yes.
And, I would do a drawing as it got higher. I had different savings challenges, but every day I knew that by this date that I was going to have that much.
Yes.
So just throwing change in a jar that you can't get in, it's not enough. You still don't
Yeah.
have control of your finances if you don't know what you have.
Yeah. And I hear control of behavior. So there's so many things that I like about that I hope people are extracting. Number one, being deliberate, right? Number two, being disciplined. So when you said no, you cannot just put $30 in there,
Mhm.
because you're not building the habit, you're
That's right.
not building the money muscle,
That's right.
right? Versus if you put $1 in a day, you're creating the discipline, you're creating the routine, you're creating the lifestyle
Mhm.
of doing that 365 days a year.
That's right.
Versus if you say, well, I'm going to pop 30 in one day. So now you do that only 12 times. If I go to the gym 365 days, my body is going to look very different than if I only go to the gym 12 days.
Excellent analogy. Yes, that's so true. And once you build a habit, the caveat to that is, once you've built the habit, then you can have a little flexibility. I remember doing $30 a month, right? Or I would just set it aside because I was going to do the challenges to help other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
For this particular goal, for example, when I get paid on the 24th, this goal will be done, right?
Okay.
But the key is, regardless of whatever impulse I face, I can't get to it. I
Yes.
can't, because This could be glued in, right?
Yeah.
I've used duct tape, whatever it took to get me through enough time to get through
Mm-hmm.
those impulses. That's what helped me stay on track as I worked
Mm-hmm.
on building that muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm strong.
There you go. I think you'll like this. And here's the irony. This comment that I'm pulling up, she's also a veterinarian. So this is Dr. Louise Wade, and she said, call it paying your daily financial freedom tax.
Woo, I love it. I love it. I love that. That's right.
That is fantastic, Dr. Wade. Well, a couple things. Number one, please tell people where they can follow you on social media because you give tips and suggestions and you have yourself a presence. So tell them where they can follow you.
Thank you. So I just started doing videos again. I've got a couple out already this year, and so you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Your Gal Shal. That's me.
Okay.
Your Gal Shal. And if you want to send me a private message, or if you have any additional questions, yourgalshal@gmail.com.
So
You can
simple.
find
So simple. All right. The box that you are holding up, can you explain? So they see the numbers on the
me.
front. Are they, so for instance, we see the number 5 in that top corner.
Mhm.
Are they putting $5 in and then like crossing that number 5 off? Is that how that works?
Yes, there's a set of markers that come with the box,
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of mark in that box, and then again, the next stage up is $1,000. So I peel it off and stick it right over that. And
Ah.
I love the randomness because what if because I have to call the exterminator for some reason, I can't put away as much as I wanted to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now maybe I'm checking off a bunch of these ones, but I'm still practicing, right? I'm still building the habit and
Mm-hmm.
then controlling the impulses, because what if I got enough money in here to pay for treatment for a whole year,
Yeah.
right? These are
Yeah.
all these things. There's a lot of psychology and
Mm-hmm.
not playing mind games, but just building that mind muscle, if you will, to do the same. So one of the traps I used to fall into when I was doing these experiments was, okay, so I'm doing $1 a day and I put a 20 in because I don't know, had some extra money or I got a bonus or something of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that in a couple of times, and I spent that $20 5 times. You say, oh, I got extra, so I'll just go in there and I'll just get that because I put that 20. You spend it until you're shaking,
Come
you got
on.
money in your pocket. And so that's why it's important to, if you say you're going to do $1 a day, unless you're changing the goal and we're going from $1 to $2 a day, until you've built the habit, don't, even if you got extra, don't put it in there. The amount is secondary to the habit. I said I was going to put in $1 a day for 30 days. That's what I'm doing. Then when you set your goal, you can align it with your pay periods and that sort of thing. But if you start throwing in there extra and you're
Uh-huh.
not accounting or making adjustments for that different
Yes.
action,
Yes.
you're it's not going to do it. It
You're
won't do
setting
it.
yourself up.
You'll spend that extra money
Yeah.
until it's all gone.
Yeah.
It happens.
Thank you for that. All right. So now you taught these things to yourself. You included your son as your accountability partner. He began developing these skills.
Mhm.
And then somewhere along the way, you decide to write a children's book.
I did. And so part of um, building generational, so you got to break the cycle
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to build the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So building generational wealth, when my niece and nephew were living with us, we taught them how to save. We helped them set goals. We also had them investing, never make all your money from one source, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get them a children's book that was sort of like a guide, right? With characters that looked like them.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find it. Most of
Mm-hmm.
what was out at the time was for older readers or about self-love and,
Mm-hmm.
my hair, my
Mm-hmm.
beautiful me, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote actually a series of children's books, but I've just published just this one so far.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Money is Good,
Mm-hmm.
Kelsie 100. And it's actually, the character is based off of my niece, Kelsie.
Oh.
Kelsie 100. And
Uh-huh.
so this book, for the veterinarian in the audience, is about a little girl who loves animals and is saving up to build her dream zoo.
Mm,
And I've read this book to over
I love it.
1,000 children at this point. And so if anybody wants me to read virtually to their school, or if you're here in the Detroit area or I'm somewhere out of state, doesn't matter. Young people and me, oh, that's my jam.
That's
So
it.
yes, so this book is meant for children, probably ages 4 to 8 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has a blueprint of practical things that a child really could do, and that a parent could really create a pathway. I call it a revenue generation opportunity. That's
I
what we say.
love it.
Instead of you can earn some extra money. No, 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 no. No, we're going
Mm-hmm.
to create some revenue generation opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you literally, as a parent, an auntie, grandparent, guardian, whatever, could take this. And I've had many parents teach their children how to save. The lady that built my website, when I was, doing consulting services where I actually coached people on how to break
Yeah.
cycles,
Yeah.
she had a son and she was curious. And so I just gave her some tips. And here's an easy tip for you for your children.
Mm-hmm.
Is it them that you want to save, or you trying to save for them?
Right.
And so what does that mean? That means that in whatever it is that the child, because you want to motivate them to want
Yes.
to do it, just like adults.
That's right. That's right.
I don't care if they say they want to save for a giraffe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Work with them. They know how to Google better than we do
Come
sometimes.
on.
Find out how much a giraffe costs.
Yes.
That's where it starts.
That's
And
right.
even if it's going to take them 10 years, well, maybe because you're putting things into perspective in their little minds,
That's right.
you help them whittle that down by pulling out of them some other things that they want to save for.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can
Mm-hmm.
print it out, a picture of it out.
Yep.
You can get a box, whatever it is that you need to do.
Yep.
And they're saving for something that they want, not that
That's
you
right.
want. So the
That's
first
right.
thing he saved for was he loved Legos. And I taught her that my next book is going to be called Captain Caden. And the third book is called Jaden Has 3 Jars. And it's
Mm-hmm.
about give, save, spend. So he
Mm-hmm.
started the give, save, spend. By the time they got to the end of the year, that baby wouldn't even let his mama buy a Christmas tree. He's like, no, 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 we're good with this Charlie Brown tree that we don't need a new tree. Mama, you work so hard, And he didn't buy those Legos either. And now he's a teenager. He's a super saver.
Mm-hmm.
And those principles will last with him for the rest of his life. And they started right here with a book just like this.
They started right there with you. Point
With
to
me.
yourself. They started right there with you. Come on.
Oh, yeah. My testimony are teachable moments for other people. It doesn't hold me hostage anymore. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any shame. The struggles are real. Women need to know that they're not alone, that
Yeah.
there is a pathway out, but it's just going to take some introspection, some
Yeah.
self-awareness, and
Come
just,
on.
again, understanding how and why you spend and making the decision that I'm going to do something different this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I love all of it. I do. I loved it when we talked the first time and each time and I know the audience is really taking a lot from it. Yeah. Dr. Wade said purposeful pain, you know,
Yes.
definitely. And you said, no, I'm going to break this cycle and not even knowing you went into it for self. And from that already you've impacted 2 generations.
Hmm. Yes. Countless
It's
people.
amazing. It's amazing. So for people, I put the link to the book. It is available on Amazon. The link is in the chat. I definitely encourage you to get it, even for yourself,
Mhm.
to have it, because when we're talking about building skill, y'all know I'm a former early childhood and elementary education teacher. I like to break things down to its simplest form. And a lot of times when you buy children's books, it is written in its simplest form. And so found it provides an excellent foundation where to build. And the skills are the skills.
Mhm.
You're grown. Go ahead, Shal. What's going through your mind?
Oh, it doesn't matter the amount at first. It's about
Hmm.
building a habit. So even if you just do a penny a day, just commit. You deserve it. You're worthy to be wealthy,
Come
and
on.
that's a mark of saying to yourself that I'm going to act on that worthiness. Your worth.
Hmm.
Money is good. Money is good.
Please do me a favor, y'all, and put worthy to be wealthy in the chat. Because if y'all are interested in claiming that, I done wrote it in my notes. Y'all know I don't play when it come to my notes. All right. Worthy to be wealthy. We have to claim it. right? We have to claim it and then we have to proclaim it.
That's right.
And so, as Shal said, she said, it doesn't hold me hostage anymore. There are so many times that we have been taught, like, you don't let people know what you have. You
Mhm.
got to hold it, you got to hide it. But we have to definitely claim that we are worthy to be wealthy. Go ahead, Shal. I see it stirring up inside of you.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking about was what, going through the journey, and when I was, just discovering how I spent money, I found in the reverse all these different ways to create. Because if you like your job, but it doesn't pay enough for you to meet your goals, where you're how you live today,
Mm-hmm.
there's this principle. I started this program called We Save 365. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong journey, right? There are ways to create room in your budget by eliminating some of those habits, some of the bad habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always like a balance.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, an easy one, are subscriptions, right,
Yeah.
that you may have, or
Yes.
just cutting out just one trip to Starbucks, or, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
may be. Once you
Mm-hmm.
know the ways and how you spend, then you can cherry pick the things that you feel like, okay, I'm going to work on letting this thing go so
Yes.
that I can get to where I want to
Come
be.
on.
Yeah, there's so much into it, but it all revolves around you and your willingness and wantingness to have a different life. I
Yeah.
couldn't let my children be at risk because I had risky financial behaviors anymore.
Mm.
I couldn't. I was alone.
Mm.
Child support, what have you, is not. 40% of the household income was gone because our home was divided in half. And again,
Mm-hmm.
even the divorce itself was a loss,
Mm-hmm.
another trauma. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, dealing with that, and then sticking together. If you feel like you can't do it alone, then save with a group, right?
Yeah.
There's different ways that I've come up with, that I tried, that didn't necessarily work for me, but I know works for somebody else that likes to have that group feel, right? Because
Yeah.
energy is different when you do something under the premise of connectedness, just like
Yeah.
power of prayer type
Yes.
thing. Same concept. When you're joined together, towards a common purpose, in that environment too, anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, tying it all together, we have about 8 minutes left in the show. You started out talking about you only do things that feed your soul,
Mhm.
and you now have. Is it fair to say that you've mastered this money thing, or you're on your way? Would you consider yourself having mastered it?
I would say yes. I definitely, so there's all, I'm a lifelong learner. So
Yeah.
yes and no.
Okay.
So I'm glad you asked that question, because it's just like when you're raising your children, right? Your financial skills can also be in their infancy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about child raising, if you have a child that goes to drugs or a life of crime or some things that don't serve them well,
Mm-hmm.
if our job as parents is to give them tools, it's up to them to use those tools to build the rest of their lives. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they do get off track or astray, they
Mm-hmm.
have the tools to get back on track and to rebuild again, because you, the parent or guardian, have taught them that.
That's right.
And so I think of finances the same way. So
Yeah.
in 2023, I had a hiccup, but we also had tens of thousands of dollars in repairs we needed, that because of those mastering that skill, that
Yes.
we was also able to afford, right? We
Yes.
didn't have to struggle to do that.
Yes.
And then I set a new goal. It was just, if you're gonna fall, right,
Mm-hmm.
try to fall backwards and land on your backside so that you can get up,
Come on.
dust yourself off, and
Come
just
on.
start moving forward again.
That's right.
Life is about cycles. You're not
Yes.
going to be perfect. There's no such thing as that. And it's going to be a lifelong thing. But once you got it, you can
Mm-hmm.
always get it back, even
Yeah.
if you get off track. So,
Yeah.
yes and no, I've mastered it. But I know I'm going to hit this goal. I set it so
Uh-huh.
high because I'm no longer challenged with, like a $10,000 goal or a $5,000 goal. I have mastered those levels,
Come on.
and I'm doing myself and people like you and in the audience a disservice if I'm not striving to do things at the highest possible level that I can. So I literally did the math, and I'm like, with the new grandbaby coming and all my travel goals and that sort of thing, this is what I know is reasonable and achievable, in
Yes.
addition to my just in case, just because fund,
Yes.
which by the way, is should be equal to 3 to 6 months
Mm-hmm.
of your mandatory expenses.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how to play the system. You know, you can make payment arrangements if you want to get a pair of Prada shoes,
Come
right?
on.
But seriously, if you want to build up an emergency fund, it is knowing, right, what your options are, but also preparing in a way that you know you're going to have your minimum requirements covered, right? Our
That's right.
basic needs covered.
That's right. That's right. So important. And so, with that, you poured all of this down into yourself, through yourself, to your children, to your other family members, now into a book that you have read, you have touched thousands of children's lives. And now you're with the Wells International Foundation doing some fundraising and so forth.
Yes, 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 yes. So the Wells International Foundation, again, the executive director is Dr. Monique Wells, and I am not a person that kind of gets like that whole googly eyed over, but she is. I am googly eyed over her. She is just amazing. What attracted me to the foundation was not only its leadership, but the fact that it has multiple focus areas.
Mm-hmm.
So we have travel and study abroad, the arts, and then some of my favorite focus areas. We have our Women's Empowerment
Mm-hmm.
Group, the L Cubed Alliance.
Yep.
We have the Youth Veterinarian Initiative, and we also have focus areas in STEAM education and literacy. So
Mm-hmm.
those last three, the Youth Veterinarian Initiative, STEAM education, and literacy, are where I spend a lot of my time. And I figured if, in my past career life, I could generate millions of dollars of revenue for a company, well, surely I could build the muscle to raise millions of dollars for a worthy cause that's going to, have a multiplicitous impact on the world.
Come on. Come
Yeah.
on.
So I love
And
it.
you all had the wonderful opportunity to meet Dr. Wells last week on New Year's Eve. And she was on the Dr. Wells and Friends show, and she talked about the Wells International Foundation and all of the fantastic work that they are doing and continue to do, and the impact that they're having on children's lives globally. It's her work is amazing. The foundation, your work, all of you. It's an amazing organization.
She's so amazing. And then also the support network. Deb Harlow is a very so if Dr. Wells is the head, Deb Harlow is the neck, and I'm sort of the arms, right?
Mhm.
And a magnificent board. But we have an event coming up just to start the year off with self renewal coming up on the 28th, and
Mhm.
I'd be happy to share that link with you later so that you can share
Please.
with the audience. But
Yeah.
it started there that the L Cubed Alliance, they mean it. They're not. It's not your cookie cutter, buzzword type thing. They are changing lives. I'll never forget the thing I took away last year from an event had to do with how we redefined productivity. All right.
Mhm.
So the exercise was we all talked about what does productivity mean to you, or a few
Mhm.
people, spoke up. And it was forever redefined for me when the leader of that session said, productivity was Dr. Wells, is any activity that gets you closer to the goal.
Yes.
Right? So not just being productive. Yeah, you can have a productive day, but productive towards what?
Yes.
Right. And so once I did that, it changed what I wanted to be productive at.
Yes.
Right. Because, it's whatever I'm extending energy wise, effort wise, should be towards some goal. And it fed perfectly into only doing work that feeds my soul. Every
Come
day
on.
I know that what I'm doing, the end result will serve 1.8 million residents, all the people that work in that government organization, and it does a greater good than I could ever do, alone.
Mhm.
And then for the foundation, improving the representation of BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color
Yes.
in the life sciences. We
Yes.
can do it. We can do it. And that's
Yeah.
what we do every day.
Fantastic. Well, we hope that you being on here today has fed your soul, because you have fed us tremendously.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
We thank you for your time. We thank you for your testimonies. We thank you for all the work that you do, and of course, everything that you have shared with us today. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we close out for today?
Thank you for the opportunity to have this use of this platform in order to share this information. Thank you for everything that you do. Also, in multiple veins, the world doesn't get better without people that are passionate like you. It just doesn't. So
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, and thank you to you all for listening and hanging with me through this hour. Appreciate
Yes. All right, y'all. Tell them again how they can follow you on social media, and if they want to get in contact you, the best way to get a hold of you.
it. Absolutely. On Instagram, at Your Gal Shal. I'm on TikTok as Your Gal Shal, and also on Facebook at Your Gal Shal. Really, right? Instagram and TikTok are where I post most of my videos. And then again, if you want to send me a message, a stranger's just a friend I haven't met yet, it's my honor to serve. Hit me up at yourgalshal@gmail.com.
All right, y'all. It is that simple. Please be sure to subscribe to her pages. It does not cost anything. If you have not yet subscribed to Ask Dr. Walls 525, please be sure to do so. We're going to be changing some things up in the new year, so you definitely want to stay abreast of what is coming sooner than later. So I'll just give you a little hint there. So definitely be sure to continue to follow us. As always, thank you all for joining us today. And as always, continue to live your greatest life. And until I see you again, God bless. Be well, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.